All right, look at that smooth entrance. We are totally live, and I am super psyched. And I have a cool new blurred background thanks to my guest today, who she is just, I am so excited to talk to her because she has got all the cool things to share. I just know it. She showed me how to work the settings on this platform, and I've been on it. This is probably her first time. She's just that awesome. So, without further ado, I always say that every show, but guess what? We're going to read her bio and bring her on lightning speed because this woman is fan friggin' tastic. She is taking the music industry by storm. She is making inclusivity like top of mind. So for women and gender expansive folks to get into the music industry, I know we're there, and why not make it easier to get there? So here we are, Simone. My guest today is Simone Torres. She is a Diamond Grammy nominated vocal producer, engineer, and artist from New York. Some notable accomplishments include being honored by the Latin Recording Academy as one of their leading ladies of entertainment. That was last year. Vocal producing Becky G's La Nena, Normani's Motivation, and engineering Cardi B's 11-time platinum I Like It, and 4-time platinum, Be Careful. If you hear dishes in the background, that's my family. Oh my goodness, so professional. Simone started her artist career at a young age, and her audition of Mustang Sally, you may have seen it, on the Xfactor in 2012 went viral. Now, having learned the technical side of making music, she is able to create the music she's always wanted to. Releasing her first original music this year. Oh my goodness, it's fabulous. Simone is ready to put herself first again and finally release all of the music she's been creating. Outside of the studio, Simone is an advocate for creating safe spaces and opportunities for young women and gender expansive folks seeking music careers. She does this through her community building events, soundtrack mixers, vocal production workshops, and mentorship of up and coming talent. I cannot talk today, so let's hope that this goes well. Simone, come on in.
What are you talking about? Everything is great. You're killing
Oh,
it.
I feel like my tongue is not awake today yet. I've had like 6 cups of
I get
coffee.
that.
I'm really excited for this though. We are going
Me
to
too.
have I get a whole hour with you. I feel like the luckiest girl in the world. Ugh, and I gotta be honest, before you got on, I
Yeah.
had Bent on repeat, like
No
looping
way.
for like
That's so
2
cool.
hours. I was that so if you see a lot of like likes and spikes on this play, that was me. That was
Oh,
me.
thank you so much.
I
That means
just
so much to me.
I'm just gonna jump. I usually start it with like the career and stuff like that and how you got
Yeah.
started. But I want to talk about this fabulous song. And what really strikes me about
Yeah.
you is you finally releasing the music that you've had inside of you and finding
Yeah.
your sound. And let's just go into that because I think that is the biggest hurdle for artists
Yeah.
is finally saying launch, pushing that button and saying
100%.
done, it's ready. This is me in audio form, and
Mhm.
I'm comfortable with it. So tell
Yeah.
me about this adventure, and it might be a long
Yeah.
story, maybe a short story, but I'm just gonna throw you the
Yeah.
floor. Yeah, let's go for it.
100%. So, okay, so I started as a singer at a young age. Like when I was 9, I started performing with my dad at weddings and corporate events and
Love
restaurants
that.
every weekend until college. And so, but being a wedding singer, because I did that for 14 years of my life, you grow up imitating a lot.
Yes,
So
you
you're imitating other people's sounds, like you're singing all these covers, whatever. So it took me a really long time outside of the engineering side, just as a human, to find what my sound was because I
Mhm.
was always imitating and my voice didn't sound like other people's. And I used to hate that. Like when I was younger, I used to really be like, oh man, why don't I just sound like XYZ? Um, but this journey has been really cool because so I started fast forwarding a little bit. So I was on X Factor in 2012
Mhm.
and all this attention came from that very quickly. And I was put into the studio with people, and they were giving me songs because I wasn't writing too much at that point. I was writing, but I thought that in order to be a songwriter, you had to be able to, from silence, just write a song, know what
Mm.
everything does, whatever. And I could do that like singer songwritery with a guitar, but not for the
Mhm.
music that I wanted to make, like soul music. Like I didn't know
Mhm.
how to create that. So I had all of these songs that I recorded that other people wrote for me that did not feel like me. And I didn't know how to communicate what was wrong with them. I just knew that they weren't me. And
Mhm.
so that's why I started that journey of learning the technical side of audio the production, the engineering side while I was at Berkeley. So that wasn't until after Xfactor. So Xfactor was like that turning point for me that made me
Mhm.
say, okay, if I really want to do this ever, I need to learn these skills for myself.
Mhm.
And also just being in the studio with so many men and just wanting to like I wanted to, I would get so frustrated when I would go into the studio and they would be like,
Mhm.
again, 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 again. But I'm like, okay, but what different? What different do you want from me?
Yes.
You
What do you
know?
want?
Exactly. It's like I can just do the same thing over and over again, but what's different? Um, so yeah, so then I started doing that and I really loved it. I found vocal production through that because
Cool.
after I was engineering and learned that at school, I was a friend of mine asked me to vocal produce their project, and I was like, wait, vocal production. This is this whole career that I didn't know anything. I didn't know it existed, but it feels like perfectly crafted for this weird skill set that I have of like, you know,
Love that.
because I had so many
Yeah.
years of vocal lessons and
Yeah.
performing and all these things. And yeah, so I found vocal production and then I really dug into that. And I had a mentor at the time that told me that if I wanted to be a vocal producer, I had to stop singing. So I stopped singing
Oh.
for a long time, which, you know,
Hmm.
it's one of those things that it's like I can see a piece of where he was coming from, but for me,
Mhm.
that was not right. But I can understand where it's like, okay, if you want to achieve success in XYZ, you have to go for XYZ. I can understand that part of it. But it did
Mhm.
make me really sad to stop singing, obviously, because it was such a huge
Yeah.
part of my identity before
Mhm.
then. And then
Mhm.
and then it's been really cool to grow as a vocal producer and then use my voice so much in my vocal production. So like my singing is so much a part of my vocal production. So anyway, fast forward to 2021. I had been writing music this whole time and recording myself and getting more
Mhm.
used to recording myself, which is a whole different skill set than vocal producing others because
Mm.
we are able to come in as an objective party when we vocal produce others. That's part of why we're brought in, right? To say, no, that was great. Like, no, that was good enough. My comps, do you know what, I don't know if the audience knows what a comp is, but
Go for it.
when when you record a song, you record different takes, right? So it'll be like take
Mhm.
one, take two, take
Mhm.
three, take four. A comp is like the compilation of those different takes. So it's like, oh, I like these words from this one, these words from this one, these words from this one. But I
Mhm.
would be so critical with myself when it came to my voice that my comps
Oh.
would look like a barcode because they
Oh
were
my
so many cuts. Because I was just like, no, okay. And like always trying to make it
god.
better and never just feeling like it was
Oh.
good enough. And it took a lot of practice of doing those kind of things to get to the point where I feel really, I can record myself pretty easily now, but you have to go through that time. But anyway, so I was recording a lot of things and they were just dying on my hard drive. And that
Mhm.
made me really sad, but it's all necessary because you have to find your sound. And it wasn't until 2021 that I was going through something in a relationship that I shouldn't have been in. And it made me feel things really deeply that I started writing music where I wrote Breathin', which is another song that I have
Mhm.
out off of the Thick of It EP that I just put out. And that was the first song that I wrote that I felt like, oh, this is for me. Like this
Ooh.
feels like me. And then I contacted Eric Yalias, who's been my production partner on all the music I've put out for the next project, for the album that's coming out. He played guitar with me in wedding bands in Boston, so that's
Oh,
how I
cool.
knew him. But you know, like when you meet that person that is just kind of like understands you musically, like
Uh-huh.
so well. I always call Eric my musical soulmate because, like, even
Hmm.
though that was 2012 that we were playing in these bands together, I knew in 2021 when I was ready to make music that I wanted to make it with him.
So
Um,
cool.
and yeah, and so we started doing these things. And so the thick of it, the EP that I have out now is that first body of work that I made. And it took a long time to get this music flushed out, especially being the first thing, because even like genre wise, like writing style wise, I was
Right.
writing as I was in the process of being in this relationship that I shouldn't have been in. And it literally is the story of going through it, like what's in my headspace.
Mm.
And but we ended up putting out Bent first as the original, as the first song of me as an artist, because even though it came from later, it felt
Mhm.
like the first thing that I really wanted to say. Like, I don't know if anyone's
I love that.
listened to it or seen the video, but the lyrics of it, especially in the outro, it says, I've been waiting patiently to be my priority. And that's very
Mm.
like, that's how I felt like. It's like you spend so much of your time pouring into others and pouring into like their success and like building them. And I love that. I love doing that so much, but I
Mhm.
had never done that fully for myself.
Oh,
And
wow.
so Bent is like my anthem of like reclaiming my time, of like,
I
and
love
my
that.
power. So yeah,
Uh-huh.
that's where we are. And then the Bent music video, I could go into that later too, but that was a whole thing
That
built
was
of
super cool.
friendship. Thank you.
Super cool. I think that's why that resonates with me so much is I have a similar story. I didn't start singing
Mm,
as young as you, but like
yeah,
copycatting, singing cover
100%.
bands. You cop these sounds and you're like, what the hell
Yep.
is my sound? I don't
Yep.
know. And then, you're in the booth and they go, try it again. You're like, what do you want from me? I don't
What do you want
understand.
different? Yeah.
I had a huge hurdle, and I still struggle with it sometimes about how to sing my own songs. I can sing cover song, no problem, but
Mm,
singing my own songs is a hurdle, and I
yeah.
wonder if you have any advice for how you figured
Ooh,
out that bit. Like, when was it
yeah.
good enough? How did you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I do with my music now that I've learned how I work best as an artist and like even just like with my mental, I make sure that I record my demo vocals as well as I can because most
Mhm.
of the time that's what I end up using for most of it. Because
What? Excellent.
like when I'm writing, so like Bent, the
Yeah.
vocal for Bent, the whole thing has
Yeah.
noise in it because I use my SM7 and I was playing. I made the rough track of it just by myself and I wrote, and it just came out how it came out. And I had my SM7, the music's playing in the room, but the emotions there because I was feeling that really deeply at that
Mm.
time, and that's really helped me. I feel like I've struggled a lot
Mm.
more. Like Up is another song on the EP. Up was one that I had to re-record the whole vocal afterwards because we changed the speed of this demo.
Oh,
So
oh, yeah.
I couldn't
Mhm.
use those vocals.
Mhm.
So that was quite difficult. But yeah, I find that there's some kind of magic that's there when you're first creating something that
Mm.
no matter how much you try to recreate, sometimes, at least for me, I find that those are the things that resonate the most because what I want is the emotion. What I want is like people to be able to. Music is like saying, "Hey, here are these emotions. Do you want to feel them too?" Like
Mhm,
here's like this
mhm,
package of like what I'm feeling, um,
mhm.
and I find that that definitely helps me the most. Like whenever you're writing, whenever you're like in that piece of it, recording.
Mm. Oh, I love this. So for you, I'm so curious about your process, and I wanna stick with your
Yeah,
original stuff for a while here.
okay.
When you are singing,
Yeah.
do you leave your producer hat over here and do it later, or do you do them side by each and you're comping while you're singing? How does that work for you?
Um, Kind of both, to be honest with
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
The so like when I'm writing, so the way that Eric and I have worked historically is I'll make because he lives in Boston, I live in LA,
Mm,
and so I'll make rough track like whenever I'm inspired to make something. I'll make a rough track of an outline of what I want this to be. And then
mhm,
that's what I'll be singing to. And the way that I write is I just sing and I have different cadences that I like. And I'm like, great. And
mm.
then I come up with random, like ghost lyrics, like things that just whatever comes out of your mouth, and then
Yeah.
that becomes things,
Blah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, you just word vomit. And so, yeah, I honestly forgot the question. My ADHD just
It's
sparkled
I
right
love
there.
you.
Where?
It's fine. It's fine. I almost did too because I was like, "Need more coffee." No, I didn't.
Oh, my
Okay,
process.
because I'm selfish and I wanna know this. Yeah. Is it
Yeah,
sing, then stop, produce, or is it sing, produce,
it's
mishmash?
kind of mishmash because
Okay.
especially when I'm recording, I have everything right in front of me. So like I have my mic will come right here and my computer is right in front of me that you can't see.
Mhm.
But even it's such my vocal production is such a part of who I am and such a part of my creative process that it's
Mhm.
so mishmash. And even when Eric is here and he creates a track from scratch, we have two setups so that I'm doing the vocal production, he's building the track, we're doing it at the same time.
Oh, cool.
So like because like background vocals like come to me like really quickly and easily, and I like that's like such a thing that I have to like get out of my brain. Um, and so, yeah, it definitely is a mishmash. I find that when I try to separate it and say, okay, now it's time for vocals,
Yeah.
is when it's not as good. Like it's when it's
Oh.
like as inspired, like whatever that thing is, that energy in the room. Like I'm very like spiritual, like whatever that thing is that's like speaking through me or like whatever. Like that's when I feel like the best things happen. You know?
Wow. Tell me more about that. How do you know when you're connected? What is it?
Um, there's like a certain thing that happens of like when you come up with things and they're not conscious. I think like when things
Mm.
come really easily and it's like, and you're like, whoa, that's really cool. Like when you stop to listen to it and you're like, oh, that's sick. That to me is never just me. And yeah, like even when I go and vocal produce others and like it's
Mhm.
like a time for background vocals. My background vocals and like ad libs and things that like I can come up with like so quickly. I think that
Mhm.
it's those moments. Or even Bent, I sang the
Mhm.
whole hook. I only changed one line
Mhm.
without like the first time when I was writing it, like the melody, everything. I just had the
Oh,
music on
wow.
and I sang it through, and it ended up being the same lyrics except for one line, and I used
Wow.
that take. So it's like things like that when it's
That's
just like when it's
cool.
easy, you know, and
It
it's
just
easy.
flows. Yep.
Yeah,
Okay, I'm
yeah,
getting
yeah,
this. I
yeah,
love this theme. I'm rereading Rick Rubin's book. I don't know if you love him or hate him, but his
uh huh,
book about he's just all about the flow, and so that really speaks
yep,
to me right now. It's like because you can push as a singer,
hmm,
producer, you can like, "I just need to get this done. I'm gonna
yeah,
keep pushing through. I'm almost
yeah,
there."
yeah.
And then you get crap you have to redo.
Mhm.
Like, it's just
100%. And it never hits the same. And I think that
oh.
there's two separate things. Like there's the
Mhm.
discipline, right? There's the discipline of creating. And I think that
Mhm.
that is a great habit to get into. But I there's something to be said about those nights that like you look up and it's 6 a.m. and you forget and like you
Mhm.
created this thing that didn't exist 6 hours ago, you
So
know? And you're
cool.
like, "Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
creativity is just the coolest. It really is.
So
Like, that's such
fun."
a simple sentence, but it really is because you're right, something
Mhm.
from nothing. And where did that something come from? And we nurture it,
Exactly.
and then we release it, and someone gets something out of that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so neat. Anyway, I interrupted you, but I'll just
No,
continue with another question because this is what we
great.
do. When you are singing and
Mhm.
you're in it, do you just know that
Yeah.
that's the take you're gonna use, or do you have to become the producer and really vet those takes and figure out which one and comp?
I comp, but
Yeah,
okay, so I'm a little weird because when okay, I always tell my singers like to record with one headphone on because you need to hear how you're sounding in
yeah,
the room and not just process wise.
cool.
Especially like I'm a belter and I want to be able to even just like all the detail of things that I'm doing. I need to be able to hear how that's happening in the room without the help of the amplification because sometimes
Mhm.
if I'm strictly listening to like this feed that's coming back to me, I won't push as hard. I won't like I'll start placing things differently, like whatever, because it's like
Mm.
this almost like shyness that happens. So I record with my mic muted because I'm a weirdo, but I like have one headphone off and I just hear myself in the room, you know,
Oh
I
my
have
god,
the
I love
music.
that.
I just like because it's to me, it's like it's the feeling. So like for me as an artist, it's very like it's just like it's how it feels like in my body. And like sometimes I'll
Yeah.
end up doing riffs and things and I'm like, I don't know what that is, you know, but I love it because I'm like, I don't know what that is. Like it wasn't, you know, I'm going to do you know, it's just
Yeah,
like what like felt right, like in the moment. But I definitely comp, but to be honest with you, it's pretty lax. What I end up
yeah.
doing now is I get to a version of it that I like. So, like, if I'm doing a
Mhm.
verse or whatever, I'll get to like a take of the verse that I like, and then I'm punching like right in front
Got
of
it.
me, like I'll like singing
Yeah.
into it, whatever. So I kind of do that more so than auditioning comps. It's like I'm just kind of doing it real time,
In the
you
moment,
know?
yeah, got it,
Yeah,
got it. This is so fantabulous. Thank you for
so
indulging me in
fun.
all my selfish questions. I love
Oh no, I love
unpacking
it.
the process
So
for
fun
people,
for
like
me.
right? It's so, like, we finally get to
I'm such a
nerd out
vocal
about
nerd.
this. Me too,
I
me
can
too.
talk about this stuff all the time.
Oh, good. Okay, because I have more questions about this whole process, but,
Right.
before I wanna talk about how you produce others, because I think that is a whole 'nother skill, and the fact that you
Uh-huh.
have it is friggin' phenomenal.
Thank you.
And yeah, because you're so feeling based, I think that it's gonna be neat to talk about your process, but before we move on, I
Yeah.
wanna talk about your, vocal warm-ups or anything rituals
Yeah.
that you do before you get ready to sing. What do you
Mhm.
got there? Mhm.
Okay, so these the Manuka honey drops, the
Oh, yeah.
wetter wetter spoon or whatever. They help me so much. Holy guacamole. Like, they
We
help
need
my
our drops.
stamina.
Yeah.
We need our drops. They're just Manuka honey and ginger, so helpful. I have straws that I use too. I will
Mhm.
say I'm not the best with my warm-ups. Like, I think
Okay.
I've just been doing this for so long that I don't drink caffeine because that like dries me out. So that,
Mm.
like I don't drink alcohol, I don't do caffeine, like I eat really clean, I take care of my body. So to be honest with you, that does a
Yeah.
lot of the
Yeah.
work.
Uh-huh.
So like I don't take allergy medication even if I have allergies because it
Nice.
dries
Drying.
you out so much, right? It really
Mhm,
messes you up.
mhm.
And then it's also paying attention to like your voice on your cycle, like different points of your cycle, your vocal cords will swell or not swell. And it's like,
That is
um,
real. That
yeah.
is real. Mhm.
So I will say, like, if there's things that I need to hit, I'll warm up, like for something like the nyans or like trying to get things,
Mm.
like trying to get
Mhm.
my belt up. But to be honest with you, I just sing, which is not great sometimes, I
But you
guess,
know
but
what?
I just sing.
Do you know what, though? I love the flow of that. Like,
Yeah.
at some point in the beginning of time, people just sang, and then they figured out you should warm up. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Awesome. So they started
Yeah.
out just singing, working
Just
it out
singing.
in
Yeah.
real time. So I love this
Yeah.
for you.
Thanks.
So cool, and I'm glad you brought up, caffeine because, yes, it's definitely it's fun, but water and
I
eating clean
know.
does count for water intake. If you're
Oh
eating
my
your fruits
gosh.
and veg, that counts,
Hmm.
folks, so it's totally
Like,
fine. Yeah.
exactly. Like right now, what I'm sipping on, it gives you natural energy, but it's just ginger. I boiled ginger with some honey in it, and it's delicious. And it gives you that natural thing because it increases your circulation, the ginger. So it's just like,
I feel like we
yeah.
need to nerd out with a whole episode about this kinda stuff because I am totally I love the behind the scenes stuff. This is super I'm gonna make ginger things later because 'cause I'm just so
Love
psyched.
ginger.
I love
Yeah.
this, I love this. Here let's move on to coaching others. So vocal
Hmm.
production,
Yeah.
that is super rad, and I mean, you had me at Backstreet Boys, I gotta be honest. I'm like, "What?" And Jessie
Yeah, it's wild.
J, those are my jams.
Love
And
Jessie J.
so I wonder how that process is coaching others. How did you find your footing in that? Because when we're coaching ourselves, we know what we want to achieve because
Hmm.
we're telling ourselves what we want to achieve. But how do you
Hmm.
express that to someone in the booth if they're
Yeah.
just not hitting it? And like,
Yeah.
what do you, yeah, I don't even know what to
Hmm.
ask. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
totally,
Let's do
totally.
it.
It's funny though because I do think that for me, it's the opposite is hard. It's harder to coach my. It was harder for me to learn to coach
Oh,
myself
oh.
because for others, you can hear like where they're placing something, or like even when you listen to yourself
Mhm,
playing back, right? Like you can hear where you're playing something,
mhm,
where you're placing
mhm,
something, but not so much like when you're doing it sometimes, right? Like that's a
mhm,
learned skill. But yeah, it's one of those things that when I was in college, a friend of mine, the first thing that I ever vocal produced, a friend of mine was just like, "Hey, you're a singer. Like, can you help me with this artist?" And I was like, "Yeah." And like we went in and definitely did a lot more on the vocal coaching side because I've been through a lot of vocal coaching in my life and I've
mm,
had to
mhm.
retrain my voice in vocal therapy. I had my adenoids and my tonsils removed and I couldn't talk for a month. And
Wow.
it was,
I didn't
mentally as a
realize the
singer.
extent of it. Yeah, I was watching an interview and you mentioned it, and I was like, "Oh boy,
Oh
that's
yeah.
yeah, wow."
Mentally as a singer, I remember I watched Pitch Perfect and cried.
Oh, of
I was like,
course.
am I
It's the
ever gonna sing
worst.
again?
Yeah.
But it's so good to have those kind of tools like
Mhm,
straws and
mhm,
placement and
mhm.
different exercises to be able to get your artists to hit things like if they're having trouble or whatever, and to make sure that they're
Yep.
being healthy, and also to be able to hear if they're hurting their voice. Like
Mm,
that's really
that's a
important.
big one.
So, but in terms of like finding your footing there, it's one of those things that you just have to do it. Like you start
Mhm,
with friends and and colleagues, and then you move up and you move up and you move up, and it takes a long time. And
mhm,
but there's no time that I ever think I'll be like, oh, I'm done learning about vocal production because it's being a vocal producer is just learning how to communicate the same thing so many different ways because you don't know
mhm,
what's going to resonate with your artist, with whoever is there. You don't know what their background
mhm,
is. Like
mhm.
maybe I have to communicate something technically. Maybe I have to say like, oh, be more bouncy. Maybe I have to say,
I
oh,
love
more
that.
staccato. Maybe you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's the same thing of like vocal fry versus like sexy. Like you can like say
Ah.
the same thing lots of different ways. and it's learning, it's just kind of building that vocabulary and that quick vocabulary, because
Hmm.
what you don't want to do is take a long time to describe something to your artist, because then they
Hmm.
can start to really just start thinking about that too much. It gets in their head. The whole thing is like, it's quick tips to not impede their creative process, but to
Wow.
be their teammate, in
Cool.
helping get to where you both want to go.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I was just going to ask you if you could explain. Some people might not know what a vocal producer does, so
Yeah.
you did explain
Hmm.
some of it. But if you had to
Yeah.
explain it in a sentence, what is
Yeah.
it? What is it?
Yeah. So a vocal producer is a cross between a music producer and a vocal coach, is the way that I like to explain it.
Love
We
that.
are doing what a music producer does for the whole track to
Hmm.
the vocal specifically. So that's not always going to be what's healthy for the voice, because we're not acting as a vocal coach. We're doing what's right for the record. So that's
Nice.
ad libs, that's vocal fry, that's emotion. My job is to make sure that the emotion, it comes through in the track of like whatever that vibe is, like whatever, it's like really tapping into the feelings of everything. Um,
Hmm.
and yeah, it's it's so much fun. But I'll be in the studio with them and I'll be like, okay, sing this, sing this like that, do this harmony,
Hmm.
smile at the end of that phrase. I want this breathier, um, more air, less air, more pointed, wider. Like it's stuff
Oh my
like that.
gosh. Oh, we could have a whole another 6 shows on this.
That's
I
so fun.
love it. I love this stuff. Oh my goodness. Okay, so I imagine that environment is
Yeah.
it like we're dealing with a human, and
Hmm.
humans can really get down on themselves pretty quickly
Hmm.
if we say the
Oh
wrong
yeah,
thing
yeah,
or don't, you know what I mean? So
100%.
what kind of considerations go into it? You said quick things so they don't get it in their head. What other kind of
Yep.
considerations do you have? Do you go for
So many.
coffee first with them before you do this? Like what
Depends.
happens? Yeah.
Yeah. So definitely every artist is different. My
Mhm.
school of vocal production is very positive. Like there's different schools of vocal production. There's the school of vocal production that's like, go again, go again, go again, go again. I'm not of that school, because I think that my philosophy around it is we get the best things when we feel our best. Like when
Mhm.
we feel safe, like even if you're doing a sad song, when you feel safe to mess up and whatever, and like nothing bad's gonna happen, that's when we get like those special things. Like when we're just gonna do the things we're comfortable with, we can't really get there. So
Mm.
so much of my job as a vocal producer is creating and protecting that environment, um, to make sure that my artists feel safe and seen and heard. And because sometimes there's a lot of voices that are saying like what they want out of a session. So there's A&Rs, there's management, there's label. Sometimes it's for TV production companies. There's executives there, and there's a lot of pressure on these artists. And so it's my job to be their teammate to get to what we need to. So I'm very physical in my vocal production too. Like if you watch any videos of me, I'm always like yelling, because I'm very just like, yeah, yeah, okay, yes, again. Because it's because
Nice.
you feel that, like you
Yeah.
feel that, like as an artist, like being in there, like you want someone that's with you, and not to feel like, oh man, I wish I would have done this again or whatever. Like if I am recording a take and I said it and they're just like off key from the get, like I'm gonna just like start it over again, because I don't want them to then be in their head that whole take, right? Like I'm just like quick.
Mhm.
And then it's so much about the speed of it. And then yeah, the quick notes so that they don't get in their head too much. But also if we get to a section and I'm giving a note and I'm giving it in all different ways and they cannot get it, I am not going to stay on that section. I'm going to move on. And then either
Nice.
depending on time, coming back to that normally at the end of the session, sometimes it's the next day. If they're not able to hit a note, what I'll do, one of the things that I do is I'll take a take where they got the closest, tune it. They listen to it when they go home. And then there's something psychologically about when you hear yourself doing that, it helps open up something. Like
What?
it's very
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's super cool. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. So in terms of the vibe of the song, I imagine it works different with different artists, but
mhm,
do you get a demo and decide how you might
yeah.
want to arrange that and produce that? Or do you have a meeting with the artist and they kind of tell you their vision? Or do they come with
Yeah.
harmonies? Or
Yeah.
is it, what happens
Yeah.
there?
Again,
Yeah.
so everything is different. So normally, like if
Yeah.
I'm working with an artist that's like that's signed, like a signed artist, they're
Mhm.
coming to me with a demo that they already love, because the A&R has already done their job. Like, and
Mhm.
my job is to just capture the artist on it with the same, so that the record feels the same now with just the artist touch on it. But there's a thing, an intangible thing that I have to make sure that I'm not losing from that demo. Now, there's
Mm.
different levels of this. So sometimes that's the case. Sometimes it's the case where the artist has a song that they like, but they don't like the background vocals. They don't like, um, you
Ah,
know, the arrangement, let's say. Like I just did a session where like I rewrote a hook melody for them because they were like stuck and they were just like, oh, okay.
that's cool.
So it
Mhm.
all really depends. And then I've even come in like one of my friends like is in town here in LA, and so she's recording things elsewhere, but like she really likes when I arrange background vocals for her. So like I'll just
Mm.
arrange background vocals for her and I'll be like, okay, here you go. You can take that to your engineer and do that. So it all kind of depends. Sometimes I'm most of the time though, like with background vocals, I'm taking the liberty. That's like part of what I brought in for, like ad
Yeah.
libs, background vocals, those kind of things. If there are things in the demo already that was given to me, and where I'll make sure I'm getting those things as well as the things that I want. So it's like I have all the information, like I'm capturing the information that we need
Mhm.
because I'm not always able to get back in with that artist so easily. Sometimes I can, and that's a luxury, and sometimes I can't. So I always have
Got
to
it.
make sure that I'm able to capture that.
Got it. I imagine time constraints is really tough on everybody if you only have,
Hmm.
like, 1 sesh with a couple hours and you gotta get it
Yeah.
done. Like,
Yep.
how do you roll with that and get everyone to relax? Is there
Mhm.
tips and tricks that you do in the beginning to make sure that everybody's not, like, looking at the watch and the clock and, stressing? Yeah.
It's just one of those things, like, it's really interesting. You're in control of that room because sometimes, like, I'm having the managers and A&R sitting behind me, and then I have the artists in the booth, and the managers are worried about things that are different than what the artist is worried about, different than what I'm worried about. Normally,
Mm.
I'm not, like, pushed too much time-wise, thankfully. Like, if I get a day with an artist, I get a day with the artist, you know? Like, sometimes they
Mhm,
have a
mhm.
hard out, but I'll never get less than a solid like 4 hours to be able to track somebody.
That's great.
Um, yeah, but if you have to think about it though, because like in that time, I just I have to be the person that's like knowing how much time that I have and then managing that and not letting people see any stress of that, you know? Like,
Ooh,
'cause it has
yes.
to feel
Yeah.
like it's just like a vibe and it's just going, but I have to constantly be like, "Okay, we need to get to backgrounds. Okay, we need to get to this," you know? And
Yeah,
watching
you're
that clock
moving
so
it.
I can make sure that they're out. Yeah.
Mhm, mhm.
But that's
Wow.
why my engineering side has to be so fast, and I'm so grateful that it is so fast now because I engineer all the sessions that I vocal produce, obviously, because
Mhm.
it's such an extension of my production. Because my engineering is so fast, I can track really fast. But that's only
Nice.
because it's muscle memory, you know, like I
Yeah.
worked on it for so many years that I don't think about it anymore, you know?
Wow. Is there a method that or a formula that you follow for your backups, or is it
Yeah.
just, like, you just hear them from the ether and you make
I hear
them
them from the
happen?
ether. I'm a
I love
weirdo.
that.
I
I
just
love
like
that.
harmonies, like I just love harmonies so much and I just yeah, I hear them from the ether. It's my favorite thing. There's some things like doubles, for example. It's like,
Yeah.
okay, I know that I need to get doubles, but in terms of like what words to do doubles on, that I just hear from like I say, okay, hold on, and then I'll go and I'll underline the words that I want them to do because it's just whatever feels right to me in
That
that
is
moment.
wild. Okay, okay, tell me
Yeah.
more about this double thing because it's not the whole line that you double. You don't double
Yeah.
everything. You just double
Depends.
certain. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like sometimes like there's a hook, like a song I was just working on the hook, we're doubling every line. But then like in verses or things like that, like again, it's like the song will tell you what to do and like also the
Mm.
style of the song. You know, like if
Mhm,
it's a more like it really depends. Like you'll be able to hear it. It's like where you want the emphasis. So a lot of like
mhm,
doubles are felt and not heard in a lot
mhm.
of things. And so it's like, okay, where do I need that like extra
Ooh.
feeling to lie is the way that I
Yeah,
think about it.
yeah. This is a
Yeah.
real feeling business, isn't it?
I
It just
know.
really is, and what's so funny is that we all get stuck in our minds, right, when we're
Uh-huh.
in this, and that's the kiss of death. We cannot be there.
Can't.
We
You gotta
cannot
like
be
not
there.
be in your brain. You just
Oh,
have to
'cause
just
it
exist.
It's so stale and it's so censored before it even comes out, and it just does
Hmm.
not work, and I love that you really stress, like, safe, feeling safe, that's the key for everyone, and I
Yeah.
imagine it's hard with, managers and reps sitting behind you like, "Huh,"
Yeah.
but, that's a master skill to be cool as a cucumber with all that going on and keeping the time and
Thank
connecting to the
you.
ether. This is really,
Yeah.
really
It
exciting to
is.
me.
But I will
Mhm.
say, like, it's something that is constantly practiced. It's not
Nice.
that piece of it, I don't think is something that you just all of a sudden know. When I
Mhm.
started out, that was something I really struggled with because I thought
Mhm.
if something's going wrong, even when I was engineering for my old mentor, when something was going wrong, I was like, oh, I want to make sure that people know that I'm trying to fix this, right? So my energy was frantic. But so like looking back at that,
Mm.
I'm like, oh my God, that's like so embarrassing. But you have to realize it's like, no, the vibe and the energy of the session is what's so sacred. And you kind of have to become like this thing that like is just so cool. I don't know. It's a very
Yeah.
it's definitely something that's it's practiced. It's
You
practiced.
gotta filter. It's
Yeah.
filtering what maybe is feeling in the inside a little nervous. You can't yeah, I get it.
Mhm.
Again, master skill, master skill. I wanna follow a few more questions with vocals and
Yeah.
vocal production before we move on to your other fabulous endeavors. And one of them is, vocal effects and
Mhm.
tones from your singers, and
Yeah.
yourself included.
Yeah.
Backups, are they different tone than the lead
Yeah.
vocal, or is that all
Uh-huh.
effects? What can you tell me about that?
So background vocals are like my favorite thing
Excellent.
in the whole world. It is so fun to me. So the background vocals are always again, it's hard to say like always in
Mhm,
this kind of a
mhm.
career because songs will tell you what they
So
need,
different.
right? And like you can't, there's no always, there's no set rules.
Yep.
And also we learn rules to break them, whatever. But what I tend to do is background vocals. Say you have your lead is like, ah, and then your
Mhm.
background vocal would be, ah, because you're kind of
Mm.
EQing it already a little bit just in the way that
Oh,
you're singing it. You're creating more air. You're getting rid of some of that mid range of the signal, and like so that it can encompass that signal that's there. So the ah is then ah are supporting
cool.
it,
So
and it's
beautiful.
wider.
Yep.
Yeah, you know.
Yep.
So like
Yep.
but then character wise, I do a lot of characters, especially in my original music. So Bent, like all the backgrounds at the end is the some days I can't breathe. It's like all the backgrounds are like
Uh-huh.
that because I just
Uh-huh.
like that like thing.
That's
Um,
why I'm talking to you about this. I was like,
yeah,
"Dude, that is wild. Look at the tones she's got in her voice. This is so
it's
cool."
so
Keep
fun.
going.
And then
Yeah.
like choir stuff, right? Like
Yeah.
so language, this another song on the EP, like I do a lot of like choir moments on my things. And like those, it's like you're just going to make those kind of choir sounds, you're just going all the different tones. So like you'll do like what I just did, and you'll also
Yeah.
do like really wide vibrato, different size vibratos, different speed vibratos. Like you start to
So
really
cool.
just play with all of that stuff.
Yep.
But I think I've become a much better singer because of my vocal production. I
I
think
believe
that,
that.
you
Mhm.
know, because like once you know and you start paying attention to all these little things, like these micro details, um, I think you grow as an artist for sure. Because then you're like, oh,
Mhm.
I can do these things now.
Yeah, you get this whole other bit of language and your ears
Yeah,
get
mhm,
fine-tuned, and then
100%.
your intuition is that much sharper because you have all
Yeah,
these skills. I totally get that.
yeah,
In terms of effects and stuff, this is my final
hmm,
question about this kind of stuff.
yeah,
What makes a good lead and what makes good backups?
yeah,
It obviously can't be the same effect. I don't know. I don't know what I'm
yeah.
asking. Hey, throw one in there.
Um, um, what makes a good lead and what makes a good backup? What makes a good lead is that it invokes emotion.
Yeah.
Whatever that emotion is of the
Mhm.
record, it has that
Mhm.
thing. It has swag, it has detail on it. I don't want my
Nice.
leads to be like,
Flat.
like
Nope.
yeah, exactly. I don't want them to be flat. I don't want them to feel robotic. Like I always want like
Yeah.
growth. Like if there's a note that's being held out, I want
Yeah.
instead of ah. That's
Yeah.
boring. Like I
Yeah,
want
it's
it to
so boring.
grow, you know? And so
Yeah.
yeah, I have like I want all those little details in my lead. And then the backgrounds, what makes them good is they're supporting. They're supporting that lead. And depending
Mhm.
on what they are, like sometimes like if the backgrounds are acting as a lead in a section, then they have character. They have character all over them. Like all my
Mhm.
backgrounds do have character on them. They're just different than the lead.
Yep.
I hope
No,
this makes sense.
well, we're both so cute. We're like, "Are we making sense here?" Yes, we
Yes.
are. We're gonna
Yes, we
own
are.
it. We are making sense. I love
Yeah.
this so much. So
Yeah.
thank you for that. This is so
Yeah.
fabulous. Uh, I wanna ask if you have any favorite memories to share about vocal producing any of the songs you have. I
Yeah.
mean, you've got some platinum 11 times platinum things. I'm looking at my notes here. Like, you've done some pretty
Yeah.
amazing stuff. So is there any
Thank
favorite
you.
moments that you wanna share with us?
I
Probably lots.
hard to pick it's hard to pick favorite, but I
Yeah.
think, like, moments that stick out to me, um,
Mhm.
so the first album that I ever got to engineer, not vocal produce yet, but engineer, like,
Mhm.
straight out of college was Jessie J's Rose album.
I
That
can't believe it.
wild, wild.
That's one of
Like,
my favorite albums of all time.
really? I
All time.
I did every song on it. I can't believe that I dude, Not My Ex, Love Is
Forget it.
Someone's Lady. Oh my gosh. I was sitting on
Forget
the
it.
floor that we had this big old compressor and I was like we were running through. It was so cool. But that was really cool to me because I had been such a fan of her, obviously, for so long. And
Obviously.
when I moved to LA, I had one CD in my car. I'm dating myself a little bit, but like I had one
Love
CD
it.
in my car when I moved in. It was her album. It was Who You Are, and I
Yeah,
had
yeah.
that. And I was just like, and then I would be just driving to her sessions. So there's a lot of moments I feel like in my career that are those kind of things. Like even we're talking about X Factor. I
Mhm.
was Kelly Rowland's engineer for a while, and just like being at Kelly's house and like engineering,
Forget
like
it.
it's so full circle. It's so um, crazy, and I love it. Is I have countless things like that that I can say. It's all such a privilege to be able to get to do.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
and then I Like It was probably the craziest record I've ever been a part of because it was so ginormous. Like, just it's just such a huge, huge
Mm.
record.
Mhm.
And I did that again pretty early in my career, which I feel so blessed to have done. I'm so grateful for that. So, yeah, lots of things.
Lots of great and it sort of seems like this is the full circle of the whole theme of our talk today. It was just the
Hmm.
flow. It just seems like
Yeah.
it's feeling and flow and just
Hmm.
following where life's gonna take you some cool places
Yeah.
if you wanna go, right?
Yep.
I just when I knew that you did Rose, I was like, "Yep."
That's
I'm
so
like,
cool.
"Yep,
That
she's
album
my
is so
girl."
special.
I
Someone's
know, it's
Lady. Oh,
oh.
her
And
tone
then
was
think about that, which is just so
Mhm.
different.
Mhm.
I'm even I can see the video and everything. Oh
I
my
know, me
goodness.
too.
I wanted to talk about your video, and I wanted to
Oh,
talk about
yeah.
your Latin Recording Academy's Leading Ladies of Entertainment, and I
Yeah.
so let's talk about both of those. Tell me
Okay.
about your video story, and then
Okay.
tell me about this Latin
Okay.
Recording Academy. Okay.
Yes. So first, the Bent video. So really quick, I also just want to say thank you. Someone just commented saying it was Amber saying that she
Oh,
watches my X Factor audition often. Thank you so much. That is so
I
kind of you, and thank you
thank
for
you
being
for
around.
producing my show, Simone. You are
Oh,
fantastic. I didn't even
oh,
see this
sorry.
because 'cause I'm, like, staring at you, and I'm like, "You're so beautiful." Wait, there's a chat. Oh my gosh. Thank you,
Sorry, I'm
Amber.
like,
This is so
well,
great.
thank you, Amber. I really, really
Oh,
appreciate that.
so
Um,
good.
but yeah, so Bent. So when I decided that Bent was the first thing that I wanted to put out, I was not thinking music video. I was just like, okay, I'm gonna
Mhm.
make visualizers. Also, I'm so independent. I make
Right.
everything myself here in my living room, and with my friends. So,
What?
um, so when we want to do Bent, I am part of this amazing salsa dancing group, and we call ourselves the Houdinis. We're just a friend group that all met dancing salsa a few years ago here
So
in
cool.
LA, and everyone in that group is the most beautiful human, and we all do very different things. And one of the girls in it her name is Dree Sommer. She's amazing. She is a music video director, and
Of course she is.
of course she is, and she's so
Flow.
cool. She's this
Yes.
amazing Brazilian woman, and she was just like, no, we need to make a music video. And I was like, really? Okay. And then so she starts ideating, and then she talks to her partner, her production partner Nicole, and they have this production duo called Seven Queens, and they are the most badass. Like, they are so cool. Talk about power of estrogen. Like, it is just, they are so gifted at what they
Love
do.
it.
So then they jumped on, and then my friend Alex, who's another member of our salsa friend group, Alex Haydinger, she had been talking to Dree and saying, "Oh, I've always wanted to choreograph a music video." And so then we were like, "Hey, do it. And then all the girls that you see dancing there are from the dance team that Alex was in when she was at USC. So it's the USC Expressions Dance Company that
Wow.
donated their time, their talent. Like at
What?
Alex, so it's Alex and Kiana who choreographed it together, part of my salsa group, and Dree and Nicole directing it. So it was just this whole thing was the
Mhm.
power of estrogen and friendship. I could have never thought that this, like, I didn't know to dream like that, to be able to do something, especially for
Wow.
my first song. Like, I'm
Of
completely
course.
independent, self-funded. Like, I am,
Yeah. Yeah.
starting this journey as an artist. Even though I've been vocal producing for a long time, as an
Mhm.
artist, I'm brand new. And
Mhm.
so it it was just, I will hold that with me forever. I it just to be able to not only be able to achieve one of my dreams, but to do that while other friends of mine are achieving theirs. Like,
So
that
cool.
is the coolest thing. It was all the girls'
Yeah.
first time being in a music video. Like, it was so special. So
Isn't
that
that the whole
event,
point? Is like we're all just
oh,
achieving our dreams? Like,
I
yes,
know.
let's do
It
it.
was so cool. So yeah, if you haven't
So
seen that,
good.
please go check
Please
it out,
watch
because
it. It's
it's just
awesome.
empowerment. Thank you.
Yeah,
And then
it's
even like
awesome.
coloring, my friend Kyle Billings, he colored it. Like, he's a friend of mine from college, and like
Wow.
it was all just friendship. And so yeah, so then that, and then the Leading Ladies of Entertainment Award from the Latin Recording Academy is one of the most important awards I think I'll ever get in my life. It's definitely the most important now. And it's not just because it's such a recognition from just my like in my career, like as a professional, as a vocal producer, as an engineer, but like from my culture, to be
Mm.
recognized in that way, because I'm half Puerto Rican, but I'm a no sabo kid. And so for a lot of, so what that means is, like, I didn't grow up speaking Spanish. And
Ah,
so because my dad came here and didn't want us to have to struggle like he did,
yeah,
and so
yeah.
as an adult, I've constantly felt like I was chasing my Latina dad, like, and trying to learn
Mm.
Spanish, and like trying to, like, because
Mm.
I feel my culture so much in me, but the language has always been a thing that I've always just been really down on myself, that I don't speak fluently, to be honest with you.
Mhm.
And so I've
Mhm.
worked really hard as an adult to do that. So to be recognized with the Latin Recording Academy and welcomed with such open arms,
Wow.
um, is one of the most crazy things. I'm so grateful. I got to bring my parents with me to Spain. We went to Sevilla for the awards.
Amazing.
It was
Amazing.
so amazing, and I love them. And I'm so excited because that next thing that I'm releasing music wise, I'm releasing the EP in Spanish. And so I'm so excited to do that. So
Congratulations, that's
yay,
huge for you. You're just
thank
talking about how
you.
important this is, and now you're doing it.
Yeah, I'm so
Oh, I'm so
excited.
excited.
I've been working with this amazing woman named Amori, and she's a Puerto Rican woman, and we met in
Mm.
Sevilla at the Latin Grammys, and she's living in Barcelona right now, and we've been working to make it so that the songs, it's not like all the songs, they're not direct translations. It's so that they live, and like the sentiment of everything is, lives in Spanish. And yeah, I'm really excited.
That
Yeah.
is congratulations, that is so exciting. So, do
Thank
you have a
you.
date for that? Can people just follow you on socials
Just
and
follow me on socials.
yeah,
Yes, I think that it's
okay.
the first one, Respiro, which is the Spanish version of
Yeah.
Breathe In. That's going to come out the
Mhm.
beginning of September, and then it'll be followed
Mm.
by the rest of the EP. Yeah,
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for
yeah.
telling us about this. This is really, really thrilling, and I wish you every success with that. We have time for a few more
Thank
questions,
you.
and thank you, Amber, for your chat. My goodness, that was awesome.
Yeah, thank you,
Um,
Amber.
Speaking of your parents, they're so gosh darn cute in the Xfactor video. I just was thinking about them today. I'm like, "Oh, cute." So they must have been thrilled to go with you.
Oh
Tell
yeah.
me about your mission to create safe spaces and opportunities for
Mm,
young women and
yeah,
gender-expansive folks in the music
yeah.
careers, because this is the point. I think
Hmm.
we need all voices in this realm because it's art and it
Yeah,
comes from everyone and
100%.
everyone's perspective is a little bit different and it adds value.
Hmm.
So tell me about this
Exactly.
mission. Yes, tell me about
Yeah.
it.
So, you know, engineering and production, they're very male dominated fields still right
Mhm,
now, unfortunately.
mhm.
But it's getting better. Everything is getting better. But basically, I hit a point where I realized that all of my favorite colleagues that I value so much, all of my favorite colleagues I knew and met from being on panels with them.
Oh, neat.
Um, and being in green rooms with them. And I was like, this is weird. Like, we exist, we're just so spread out. But I just wanted
Mm,
to create something where there were more opportunities for us to meet each other not in those situations, because like it's not just for, it's for community, but it even goes a step further than that, because it's also for safety. Because if something
Mhm.
is going on that's weird in a situation that you're in, and you don't have someone in your field to be able to talk to about it, that you know, another woman, non-binary person, like whatever you are,
Mhm.
it's really easy for those things to continue to happen,
Yeah.
you know. So really wanted to create those networking, community building events. So it's like, oh, okay, like, oh, I have this opportunity. I know this skill, but I don't know that skill. Can you teach me? And like helping do that. So my partner and I, Ruchi Parikh, my manager, she's amazing. We started an event called Soundcheck Mixers. It's an event series for women, non-binary folks in the tech side of audio, to create community, come together, network. And it's been so lovely. We had our first one
Mhm.
last year. We have been doing them ever since. So we're here in LA. We just did one in March. We're doing one, if anyone is going to be at AES in New York this October 10th,
Mm.
we're going to announce we'll have one at Jungle City Studios in
Awesome.
partnership with She Is the Music, which they are so amazing. She Is the
That is
Music and
cool.
Sally. So yes, we will have one at Jungle City October 10th.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow. Yay, yay. I just, I feel like I live under a rock. I just found out about She Is the Music today.
Yeah. Oh, amazing.
Well, I know. And I was like, where have I been? So definitely going to reach out and have them on the show, because I think that
Yeah.
this is a show about voice, right? And it's not
Yeah.
just singing, speaking, writing, vocal production, all that stuff. It's like, hey,
Totally.
sharing the mission and putting
Hmm.
yourself, sharing who you are in this
Yeah.
world.
That's
That's the
such a good point.
point. So, you are fabulous. I thought for our last few minutes, I'll just throw a couple rapid fire, like couple little things to you, and don't
Okay, I'm ready.
sweat, because you're ready. You're cool as a
I'm
cucumber.
so
We already
ready. I have my
established
air
this.
conditioner.
So my first question, because I forgot to ask it earlier, was your top two influences as a singer.
Ooh, Etta James is number
Nice.
one for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Um, and then I'm gonna make it a tie between two
Okay,
more.
I knew that's fine. Every singer does this. They're like, "Can I have five?" And I'm like, "Yes, you can have five. Come on."
Well, because
Yes.
Etta James is the person that, even when I was younger, like just grew up imitating,
Mm.
imitating, imitating.
Mhm.
Love Etta James so much. You always feel what she's singing. And then Christina Aguilera, I imitated a
Oh,
lot
yeah.
growing up too.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
Jasmine Sullivan. Like Jasmine Sullivan.
I do not know Jasmine. I think I need to get out from under this rock that I'm living in.
Come
Okay,
out from under
I'm
the
writing it
rock.
down.
Oh my
Jasmine.
gosh. You will have the biggest singer crush for the next like however long, because
Well, that
like,
seems appropriate, because Rose was one of my singer crushes that I found Jessie J through. So this, and now it's you
oh,
again. It's
amazing.
gonna give me my next one. So there we go. Okay,
Girl,
done.
Jasmine
Done.
Sullivan. It is stupid. If you watch her performance of Home from the Wiz when she is 10 years old, in
You're kidding
it
me.
is ridiculous. Like you'll see her
What?
recent stuff too. She's one of those singers that, like, I've seen her live 3 times now. I cry every time. It's just like her
Mm.
gift is just stupid. So
Oh
yeah,
my
Jasmine
gosh.
Sullivan.
Okay. Speaking of Broadway, is that a thing
Yeah.
for you? Would you ever do that?
Broadway?
Yeah.
Okay. I have always wanted to. Do you know the show In the Heights?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Mhm.
I've always wanted to play Nena. That is like
Okay,
my
do
thing
it.
I've always wanted.
Do
So yeah,
it.
maybe.
We will.
Hey,
We will.
I want
We'll
to do
do
all
it.
the things.
We'll do all the things too.
I just love making music and creating, and I'm just like, hey, I'm ready to step into my performer bag again, because I just love it so much. It brings me so much joy, and it's so much of
Oh,
who I am. So I'm really grateful for this season, you know?
it is, yeah, you need both the recording and the performing, for sure, for sure.
Mhm.
Dream artist to work with, whether it's a duet or producing or both, and they can be alive or
Woo!
dead. Who is this? Maybe we'll do no, probably Etta James, I imagine.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Who right now currently out there would be the dream to collab with?
I'll answer it two ways, because as a
Mhm,
singer, it's going to be different than as a vocal producer. As a
mhm.
vocal producer, do you know Lawrence Family Band?
Nope.
They're like blowing up
Again,
right now.
I
Oh my
gotta
gosh, there's
just
a singer,
out.
Gracie. So they do soul pop, and
Oh, cool.
she is just, I'm just so impressed by all of it. It is so sick. And then obviously Beyonce. I've always wanted to work with Beyonce. I haven't worked with her.
Obviously.
And Jasmine Sullivan. Always wanted to work with
Yeah,
Jasmine Sullivan. Haven't worked with her yet. So as a vocal producer, those
yeah,
are them. Also,
yeah.
Gloria Stefan, like I have like my little
Ooh.
bucket of people I really want to work with.
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
and then as a singer, that's a little different, but I really just love soul music so much. So, Teeks. Have you ever heard of Teeks?
Yes, I've heard that one. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
there
yeah,
you
that
go.
one.
There you go. That
Yes, finally,
his
I've heard of
tone,
one.
his
Yeah,
tone is so stupid.
yeah.
Teeks, Otis Kane is a friend of mine.
Mm.
I'm really looking forward to doing something with him. He's a soul singer that is amazing. Um, yeah, soul soul singers like Joss Stone. That would be so cool. It'd be
For
so cool to do something with
sure.
Joss Stone.
She's sick.
I'm like,
I know. I'm like, "Where
she
did
was
this come
another
from?"
one, Yeah, growing up.
Her story
So
about, like, I didn't wanna lose my horse, so I entered a singing competition and won and got the money to g I'm like, "What?
kinda. What?
What? Where did you come
There's
from?" Anyway, oh my goodness, we could nerd out about that for a whole other show.
yeah.
Autotune or Melodyne?
Both.
Both
Mhm.
and for different reasons, I imagine.
Exactly. Different uses.
Uh-huh,
Yeah.
uh-huh. Do you tune all your vocals?
Yeah.
'Kay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is there room to not tune vocals? Would it be a certain genre, or is it just the thing now?
Obviously, there's room for anything. Like we're making
Mhm.
art, right? Like
Nice,
it's
nice.
whatever drives you. But
Mhm,
in terms of popular music, like what you hear on the radio, not really, because we are so accustomed to hearing that
mhm,
tuning now and to hearing perfection that when we
mhm,
don't hear it, we're like, what? Also, when there were more live instruments being played, like in even in more genres that have the live instruments being played rather than programmed things, it's easier to not have things as tuned because the tuning's changing, right? Like
yeah,
sometimes like
totally.
there's like a level of that. But in
Mhm,
pop music, it's things are locked, and that tuning is such an
mhm.
important piece. But tuning, it does not mean perfection. I that's that's really what I built a lot of the beginning of my career on, because I have perfect pitch one, but like I tune as a
Mhm.
singer and not just as an engineer, because I'm making sure
Mm,
that things are growing. Like at the end of a phrase, I'm bringing it up 3 cents, 4 cents, so that it's like feels like it's growing.
nice.
So there's like such an art to tuning. I really believe,
Wow.
and that's yeah. But yes,
I've never thought of it as an art, but of
hmm
course it is.
yeah,
Fantastic, girl. I'm gonna be mindful of your time. Thank you so, so much for being here
of
today. It
course,
flew by. Hopefully, you feel the same way.
yeah,
You weren't like, "Oh my
totally. No,
god."
no, thank you so much for having
Oh,
me. This is so lovely that you're doing this. I'm so grateful to be
oh,
on, and yeah,
oh,
just excited for more episodes to see what who you
oh.
talk to next.
Well, thank you, and I'm excited for more music, and I'll be looking forward to the
Thank you.
Spanish EP. I'm really
Thank
psyched for
you.
you, so keep pumping it out and keep us
Thank
posted.
you.
Thank you,
I will.
Simone.
Thank you
Ciao,
so much.
Bella. Wasn't she so great? I almost said fabulous because I say it every time, but she was fabulous. Come on now. Thank you so much for watching. You can catch us on our YouTube channel. We have the schedule, so just check back there. We've got some really exciting interviews coming up. I've got memoir writing coaches. I've got a doctor who did a TED Talk. I've got a music marketing genius. I've got all kinds of things going on. So please check it out. And thank you so much for the support. We have a podcast version too, so you can find that on our website. And if I was really ready for this, I would have had the caption right up, but I did not. So, okay, whatever. Ha, got it. Voxsana.co. Yes. .co, not com, co. All right. That's it for